Alright, you guys, welcome back to some more Hapymaher. We are still stuck in the dream with Keiko. We're still trying to find a way out of the school and things like that, so we're gonna see where that ends up taking us. We ended up having a pretty good time. So they've been practicing the guitar and things like that, and I guess he's getting a little bit better, or at least he's having fun doing it. Though some would probably say our days were pretty self indulgent. In the mornings, I would walk around school. I'm looking around for a way to leave the school. Meanwhile, Hirosaka would wander around the school by herself, keys in hand, as if checking for something. The two of us would do all we could to explore the grounds of the silent campus. And after lunch, Hirosaka would give me guitar lessons. There were no surprising developments, like me actually having a penchant for the guitar since I was learning it for the very first time. If anything, progress was slow.
下手ではないですけど、才能があるわけでもないですよね。普通です。
That could describe my entire life. Anyways, she told me, she told me, we usually practiced until either Hirosaka got bored or the sun set. Generally, the latter came first. The strange thing was that even though we were in a situation where we couldn't escape, the electricity still worked and we still had hot water. The food in the cafeteria did disappear if we ate it, but it would often reappear the next time we looked. It's like that room. I had just taken a shower and was now enjoying the night breeze. When we wake up, it would probably still be winter. It was cold in this dream, too, but not freezing cold. It felt like autumn. Oh, damn it, how many days has it been? Even though I had been marking the days so I wouldn't forget, any letters I wrote on blackboards, any scratches I made on trees, any rocks I lined up would all go back to how they were before the next day. If I counted with my fingers, today would be the 6th day. I wasn't sure. It had felt longer, and maybe it had been. It certainly hadn't felt like a short amount of time. Well then, it wasn't like I had spent half of each day lounging around and wandering around the school aimlessly. It might not look like it, but I was used to dealing with strange dreams. In other words, I had a plan for waking up. Sometimes it smelled flowers in the wind. I mean, you're literally surrounded by flowers. Like, look how many there is. There's nothing but flowers here, and there's a cactus, of all things. This wasn't actually the smell of a flower. It's her. Oh. Roasted honey mixed up in a forest. It was faint, but I noticed it. It was the strongest after the sun went down, like now. Well, I need to settle things with her as well. Hirosaka was still taking a shower. Over the past several days, there have been times when we'd taken a shower together, but we always ended up having sex, so I held back today. To be young and in love. Yep. I liked it when she initiated it. I like to initiate it myself. You just like it. That's what I'm hearing. You like it both ways. You just like it in general. It's okay. But our relationship was still half-assed. In order to make it official, I had to wait until we woke up like I promised. I should be able to get to where Maya was. My hand was the key used to open the school gate. I had created it based on the one in the janitor's room. I made it so I could get to Maya. A relationship, huh? Just like how I had needed Hirosaka's guitar and a song to get to where she was, maybe I myself would be enough for me to get to Maya. Though I was a little worried about leaving Hirosaka alone without saying anything, but, well, here I go. Yeah, I feel like it's a bad idea considering, the whole point of this dream was that she was alone, and then you came, and, that was supposed to be the condition that was supposed to help her escape. But obviously there's more to it. I just think it's a bad idea to leave her alone right now. But we'll see how this goes. If I told her I was going to go see Maya, she might insist on coming along. I doubted she would let me go alone, so I inserted the key into the lock on the school gate by myself. There was a heavy clunk and the gate opened. Okay, so Maya sounds kind of like she's in the area, but it sounds a little bit distant, a little bit echoey. Just as I thought I was able to leave the school after I reopened the gate with that key. What is she doing? I could only hear Maya's voice in the wind. She sounded happy, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. Tick-tock, tick-tock. There's no doubt that Maya was in the direction of that voice. I put my hands in my pockets and walked through the town as I listened to the voice. All I could hear was the wind and Maya's voice. The wind grew louder, making it almost sound like I was at the beach. That night made the roads completely dark, with only the dim street lights illuminating the way. The streets, the houses, and the stores were all dark, making me feel like I was the only person in town. Actually, I am alone. I had left Hirosaka behind. Even though I knew it was selfish for me to have left without saying anything, I wanted to get this over with as quickly as possible so I could go back. I just feel like one thing we've learned, like through this whole experience and all the, you know, stuff we've had to go through, is that you really don't want to do anything alone, especially when it comes to dreams that kind of suck you in. It's really hard to get out of them, especially if you don't have someone to kind of knock some common sense into you. If I'd been the one left all alone here, I probably would have gone crazy before giving up. Maybe something had happened to Hirosaka before she gave up too. But that didn't only apply to this dream. I heard a footstep. It was heavy and sounded like leather, completely unlike Maya's. The person who appeared under the streetlight was...
面倒なことをしてくれたものだな。
Good, good. I'm glad he is showing up, because in my eyes, it's not really Maya that's the problem in Keiko's route. I think it's going to be the father. I think he's kind of the final boss. As we kind of already have seen, you know? Hirosaka's father. Who's calling me? I don't know why I'm getting a work call. I don't even have work. As usual, even though he was looking at me, I felt like he really didn't see me, but I heard more footsteps. Lighter than this man's. I thought maybe Maya had invited him here, but instead someone unexpected appeared. Why are you with him? Another person appeared under the streetlight. Why?
言わなくとも分かっているだろう。
I suddenly felt an unpleasant sensation around me. It was as though numerous people were all looking
君
at
と
me.
娘の関係は彼女から聞いた。
Next to him, Clubpress nodded. What was she thinking? What was she doing? When did they come into the stream in the first place? How would she know about this situation? Yeah, Yaoi... Yaoi being the one to show up doesn't really necessarily surprise me. I feel like she's pretty good at just showing up at random times, you know? A little bit more planned out than what Alice would do. I feel like Alice just shows up very randomly. But I feel like Yayoi usually has a plan when it comes to dreams. I don't feel like she brought him here and is here for no reason. Didn't misunderstand my words.
君が娘に悪影響を与える。それだけ分かっていれば十分だろう。
I don't know. It's hard to say that Tohru's a bad influence because he's not really much of an influence. Like he's not really a bad one. But maybe he's not always a good one either. He's just kind of neutral. Not that. I mean, how much do you understand about what this is and what's happening? Ah, so they're NPCs. Bubpress spoke up. If she was right, then this man probably didn't understand anything, but he didn't seem to be concerned about it. But if Clubpress was right, then he had no idea that this was a dream. Not good, I thought, as sweat began to gather on my forehead. I'm a bad influence.
君のようなどうでもよい人間が相手など許せることではない。
What's that supposed to mean?
私の娘の相手にふさわしくない。そう言ったんだ。
I think not necessarily a bad influence. We're just not like a strong influence. We're not really someone that's gonna like lead Keiko down a good path. We're probably gonna hinder her if anything. So it's not like we're a bad influence. Not like we're like causing her to do bad things. We're just not causing her to do good things. I kind of want to look at it from that perspective. That probably sounds the same, but how come every time I'm recording, every time I'm trying to talk, I have to cough. I have to like clear my throat. It's so annoying. And this doesn't happen regularly. It's only when I'm recording. It's probably because I'm talking more than I usually do by a lot. I'm not like a super talkative person. So when I'm recording, I definitely talk more than I usually do. I was just talking about with some of the guys in the Discord about how like if I didn't have to commentate these, I could probably make a 5-hour video. I could probably get through this a lot quicker if I only had to add little comments here and there. And I feel like when I first started doing these, that's kind of what I did. But now I try to commentate most of it, and I try to, you know, talk about what's happening. It's exhausting. That's for sure. In other words, so it's not that you're worried about her because she's your
野
daughter.
良犬に噛まれてはいないかと心配だな。
I haven't seen any dogs around here. This man really viewed me as some sort of stray dog. Next to him, Club Press was watching us, not with her usual forced smile, but rather an icy expression. It was a bored-looking expression that I had seen on her before, but more
二
importantly...
度と娘に近づかないでもらおう。
No, screw you. Can you at least give me a reason I can understand? No, don't listen to this guy. He just doesn't like us for no reason. Hasn't even tried to get to know me. I did all I could to keep from sounding overtly hostile, but I couldn't completely hold it back. Is that really because you're worried about Hirosaka? Are you worried because your daughter is going out with a guy you don't know, or are you worried about what people will think if your daughter goes out with someone like me?
愚問だな、君。まさか自分が胸を張って誇れる人間だとでも思っているのか？
This guy's a classist. You know, he doesn't like me because I'm below him.
まさか私が半病人に近づかれて喜ぶとでも思ったのか？
A semi-invalid? Gosh, these terms are starting to sound like from, you know, Chaos Child. Next thing I knew, I was running at him. Uh-oh. Not because he had insulted me, but because... You bastard. That's what you're worried about? Have you thought nothing of what your daughter wants? Club Prez's voice was almost a scream, but I couldn't stop. It was true that I was a borderline invalid, and I didn't have any qualities I could really be proud of. But even so, it was crystal clear that this man was worried about his reputation, not Hirosaka. In other words, he didn't care at all about Hirosaka getting hurt. He just didn't want to deal with the aftermath. I clenched my fists. I hardly ever got into fights, but I had to punch this man. Except, next thing I knew, I was lying on the ground. Wow, shocker. Yeah, I totally thought you were about to beat him up and, you know, make him see the error of his ways. I totally thought that was about to happen. Yeah. Shame. Pain shot from my shoulders to my arms. It took me a moment to realize that someone was on top of me, pinning my arms. All of a sudden, the men I had seen during the Christmas party were all around us, and one of them was holding me down.
まったく、こんな男が相手とは。稽古も見る目がないな。
Hirosaka's father looked at me like I was an insect. I couldn't escape, but even if I moved a little, I knew the pain would run through my arms again. Even so, I snorted, derisively. Ha, growing up around you, it's no wonder she's a poor judge of character. His eyebrow twitched for the first time. You really know nothing about your daughter if you have to hear about the guy she's with from a friend after all this time. The grip around my arms tightened, but even if I was crawling on the ground, there was something I had to say. At first, I just thought you were worried about Hirosaka, but you're too socially awkward to show it. Now I think about it, you're just too embarrassed to say that you're worried in the first place. After all, a middle-aged man panicking over a girl is just creepy. You're her father. What the hell are you thinking?
黙らせ。
After a yes, sir, there was a shock for something pressed up against me. It was probably a taser or something similar. Thanks to that, my strength left me. They tasered me. What is this? I didn't want to avert my eyes from this man. The vision went black with the second shock. What the frick? How rude. They tasered me. The sight of Tohru's body going limp under the taser made Yayoi want to rush to his side, but it would be alright. Tohru was much more reliable in dreams than he was in reality. Sometimes. It wasn't like she hadn't seen this coming. What did that mean? Yayoi had figured ever since the Christmas party that Keiko's father would probably do this sort of thing in real life if he thought it necessary. The men carried Tohru away.
一体どこに連れて行くつもりかしら。
我々の拠点だ。彼には言うことを聞いてもらわないとならないのでな。
What are we playing, StarCraft? You have a command center? A mildly ominous response. Yeah, you can say that again. Sure, the dream was making him behave a little bit more extreme than he would in real life, but this was really what he wanted to do in his heart of hearts. He's the kind of person who prioritized efficiency when choosing a method to achieve his goals. I don't know, he's not really good at it because he spends a lot of time talking. Yeah, you understood the way of thinking very well. That was more or less how she was, after all. The difference was that Yayoi took the consequences into consideration as well. No matter how effective, if you did things like this regularly, they would eventually come back to bite you. The fact that his relationship with his daughter had gone sour is proof of it. What a troublesome adult. No wonder Keiko grew into such a troublesome daughter.
彼、一応私の後輩で友達なんですけど、無事に返してもらえますか？
君は何か私を勘違いしていないか？余計な危害を加える気はない。
余計だと思わなければ加えるってことじゃないの、それ。彼が素直になってくれると、そういう心配もなくていいんですけどね。
Not letting the slightest hint of what she was thinking cross her face, Yayoi kept smiling. Yayoi was close to Keiko's age, so he had let her guide him because she said she knew where Keiko was, but he didn't entirely understand what she was thinking.
それで君は何が目的で私についてきた？
確かめたいことがある。そう言ったはずですけれど。
Yayoi did indeed have something to check. She didn't care if she would be hated for this, but she needed to know. She had to take Keiko's father to where Keiko was. It was pure coincidence they had run into Tohru midway through, but considering where they were, it felt more like it had been
だ
planned.
としたら、あの子かしら。稽古の望みなら、こんなことになるわけないし。
Tohru was placed into a car and driven away like he had been kidnapped. Yayoi watched the taillights as they disappeared down the
稽
road.
古のところに向かう。案内してもらおう。
Would he do the same thing to his daughter? All Yayoi could do was try to roll with the punches. The reason Yayoi stood beside Tohru and Keiko's enemies was so that they would greet her as an ally, and then she could control
け
them.
ど、トールたちの味方をする気も今のとこないし。何この両者をコントロールする第三勢力って感じは。
I don't know, Yayoi, what is your goal here? It was like the villain pulling all the strings, but the real villain was the one who brought Keiko to the stream in the first place.
こっちです。
Not letting her thoughts show, Yayoi continued guiding Keiko's father. Maybe Mr. Hirosaka and his subordinates weren't used to walking through a dream because they could no longer get to Keiko without Yayui's guidance. No, that wasn't right. Yayoi had altered the dream to make it that way. They couldn't get to Keiko without her, and she had convinced them by telling them it was a dream. Yayoi was just thinking about how unexpectedly well everything was going as she started to get into the remaining car when... Oh boy. The sudden voice caused everyone there to freeze. Mr. Hirosaka looked up, faint traces of confusion on his face.
やっぱりね。
Yayoi heaved a mental sigh and shrugged. I don't know, I'm wondering if Maya's not going to let anybody besides Tohru end up seeing her, because she wants to be alone, right? I think Tohru's just the only one who can get through. It was just as she thought. The whole reason this had happened, the whole reason everything had gone well, was all because she had showed Keiko a nightmare and then a happy dream. From down the street, a girl came towards them, humming the rhythmic sound of a clock.
チックタックチックタック。あらあら、おじさま、そんなに急いでどこに行こうというのかしら。
Oh, Maya. A girl who stood out from the surrounding environment had suddenly appeared. But even with Maya in front of him, Keiko's father's attitude didn't waver. However, Maya looked different than she usually did. For one, she was walking on her own feet rather than floating like she usually did. But that wasn't the problem.
どうしよう。すっごい逃げたいわ。
Yayoi knew that something terrible would happen if she stayed here. It felt like they were in a cage of a savage beast. Yayoi felt the urge to immediately apologize for joining forces with this man, if Maya would accept her apology. But right now, Maya's attention was focused almost completely on Mr. Hirosaka. So Yayoi was just barely able to stifle that urge.
子供は早く家に帰るように。
Saying only that, he attempted to get into the
自分
car.
の子供は家に帰ってこなくても気にしないのに、そんな心にも思っていないことをどうして言うの？
Maya giggled. Keiko's father stopped and looked at Yayoi.
稽古の知り合いか？
そうね。知り合いでしょうね。友達ではないと思ってるでしょうし。
Maya giggled again, neither confirming nor denying
そ
it.
れともう一つ。今さっきあなたが無理やり連れて行った彼の妹です。
Mr. Hirosaka turned to look at Yayoi in confusion, but it was too late. Oh boy. Maya grinned as the nightmare scent Tohru had smelled. That sweet forest-like smell spread all around them. Mr. Hirosaka instinctively came to the realization of the danger that he was in.
だわ。この子の前でトールにあんなことして無事で済むわけがないじゃない。
But what would happen to Yayoi, who just stood there and watched? Having already given up on Keiko's dad, Yayoi desperately brainstormed about what was going to happen to her.
せっかく用意した舞台が台無しだわ。おじさまにはもう少し静かにゆっくりと動いてほしかったのに。
I like how she calls it a play. Like this is all a stage act.
君は何を言っている?
Like it's all planned out, you know? Kind of makes me think of like some of these scenarios. It's usually like Tohru or it's somebody else like saving the day, right? It's all like perfectly planned. It all works out in the end, you know, just like a real story. Like most people don't like to make stories that have bad endings, and most audience members wouldn't want to watch a story that has a bad ending. It's almost like Maya's giving people what they want. As expected, Keiko's father didn't show the slightest hint of fear, but he no longer thought of Maya as the child she appeared to
もっと
be.
ゆっくりきちんと稽古のところに行ってほしかったのに、これじゃめちゃくちゃ手順が台無しだわ。そうは言うけど、私たちを呼んだのはあなたじゃないの？そうよ。ここにおじさまを呼んだのは確かに私だわ。けれど、ここで自由にさせているのは私がそうさせているわけじゃないもの。
Her voice sounded a little disappointed, making Yayoi a little bit more frantic in planning her escape. But it wouldn't be good if she made a move now. She had a premonition, one stronger than anything else she had felt, that she would be helpless to do anything. Just like how Tohru was powerless to stop Keiko's father from carrying him off in this situation, Maya was in complete control. Did Mr. Hirosaka realize that? No, he probably didn't.
何をわけのわからないことを?
Tried to ignore
人の
Maya.
夢の段取りを壊して、私の大事なお兄ちゃんをあんな目に合わせておいて、どこに行こうというのかしら。
Also very interesting, we haven't really gotten to see like a ton of examples of, you know, Maya really going out of her way to like protect Tohru. At least maybe ones that aren't so obvious. Not good. Maya was even angrier than Yayoi had thought, but by the time Yayoi realized this, it was too late. Maya snapped her fingers. Yayoi was in a position where she could escape at any time, but nothing happened. Except one. The inside of the car Mr. Hirosaka was about to get into went completely dark.
何?
He didn't seem to understand what was happening before him, not that it would have made any difference in the end. Maya snapped her fingers once again and a gust kicked up. It pushed Keiko's father towards the car. Maybe it wasn't really wind, but rather something massive but invisible. Regardless, it was gone now.
バカな。何が起きている?
Yayoi thought that Mr. Hirosaka had simply been pushed in the car, but instead he clung to the edge of the door frame as if he were in danger of falling in.
しぶといんだから。けどそういうのはもっと後。どうせならお客さんも盛り上がるラストシーンでお願いしたいわ。
I do wonder if Maya's kind of trying to break the fourth wall here, like if we're the audience, you know? Giggling, Maya walked up to the car. Mr. Hirosaka was trying to pull himself out with only the strength in his arms, but Maya looked down on
開け
him.
たものはきちんと閉めないと。ね、おじさま。
Maya smiled joyfully before gently nudging the car door closed. Before he could finish, the door slammed shut, severing his right arm where the door had closed on it. Oh, okay. Wow. Not unexpected for Maya. I could imagine Maya can be pretty cruel. As we've seen. I think that goes without saying, almost. Although what was left was a silent car in Mr. Hirosaka's right arm, limp and unmoving, like that of a mannequin.
こんなの美味しくなさそうだけど、仕方ないわね。
What, are you planning on eating that? Maya threw the arm up to the air as it turned into a cube of sugar. She opened her mouth and swallowed it whole.
相変わらずめちゃくちゃね。
Men in black suits who had been accompanying Hirosaka were now gone. Only the sound of the wind blowing past the plants around them remained.
夢なんだもの。少しくらいわけがわからない方がらしくていいじゃない。
Interesting. I like the way she looks at it. Like, it's a dream. Of course there should be some things that obviously don't make sense. It's not reality, right? Then she was tossing something into the air with one hand as if it were a beanbag.
チックタックチックタック。きちんと鳴る時計だったらよかったのに、お兄ちゃんってば。
Like how she sees her brother as a nuisance, like he's done something annoying that caused her to have to put in more work. Which is exactly what happened. It was the desk clock Tohru used to wake up in the morning. Oh, okay. It was digital, so of course it didn't make a ticking sound. Spinning it around in her hand like a top, Maya turned to face
そ
Yayoi.
れでルーティはこれからどうするの？おじさまと同じように私の邪魔をするのかしら。
Maya grinned unpleasantly. Yayoi didn't know if she meant it as a threat or if she was just
ど
teasing.
うもこうもやろうとしてたことがめちゃくちゃよ。やっぱり自分の夢でもないのに何かしようと思ったのが間違いだったのかしら。あら、それは私だって同じよ。私たちはどうしたってアドリブを入れるくらいでしか夢をどうにかなんてできないんだもの。
Am I wrong, or are these two like having a moment right now? Like not like a romantic moment. No, like don't get me wrong, but like they're having like a mutual moment where they're like, oh yeah, it's like we can't really do a whole lot, you know?
舞台そのものを作り変えたりすることはできないわ。
They're relating to each other. How about that? That's what I'm trying to say. They're like, I don't know. They're communicating as if they're friends, which is weird because they're not.
私から見るとマイヤは結構好きにできてるように見えるけど。それでこれはどんな舞台なのよ。
Maya put a hand on her chin.
子供だけ永遠に楽しく困らず歌って暮らせる楽しい世界。けれどそれを邪魔する大人がやってきました。元の世界に帰りたいという子供とここにもともといた子供、果たしてこの後どうなってしまうのでしょうか。
Maya giggled as Yayoi seemed to come to a realization. Maya started tossing the clock again, saying tick tock, tick tock.
この夢の流れとマイヤの役割が分かったわ。なるほどなるほど。あら、だとしたら私が目の前にいるっていうのに随分余裕じゃない？ええ。だってつまり私はマイヤには何もされない。そうかしら。例えばルーティがお兄ちゃんを傷つけるつもりだったら私きっと何でもするわ。そのつもりはないわ。さっき手を出さなかったのはそれって嫉妬？
Giggling, Maya interrupted
そう
Yayoi.
よ、嫉妬。だってトールが私たちのことなんてほっといてケイコばっかり可愛がるんですもの。
Hey, don't feel bad. You just had your route, okay? Yayoi chose her words carefully, but it wasn't like she was lying either, so she should be okay.
タックチックタック。それじゃあルーティはこれからどうするの？
You know what I just thought about? I'm gonna mention some brief Chrono Clock spoilers. I have a whole playthrough of that, so if you haven't seen me play that, I mean, it's technically the game before this, but they're not really related, I guess. So I wanted to mention a brief thing. I was just thinking about how, like, at some point, all the girls remember their routes, right? And that was, like, a big reveal to me. I wonder if they'll do something like that in this. I could really see them doing something similar. I don't know. It just seems like this would be the perfect game to do something like that. I feel like they could.
そうね。トールがさらわれたことをケイコのところに伝えに行くわ。それともそれは大人から呼び出さないとダメかしら。
But maybe that's just my bias, because I like when they do that. I like when everybody remembers. And they usually put the caveat of like, oh, they don't remember every little thing, but I think it's fun.
大丈夫よ。けれどルーティ、この配役だとあなた最後はどうなるか分かってるわよね。大体は。けど最近はハッピーエンドなのよ。知ってた？
Lately, I've been getting the happy endings. What if that would be interesting too? If like, since I've already completed her route, if she made mentions of that, that would be really cool.
そうね。そうなるといいわね。
With a smile, Maya started walking again. Yayoi wondered where she was going and why she wasn't disappearing like usual. She watched as Maya
ゴ
left.
ールが広いね。ま、わからなくもないけど。
I don't know, is this the build up to Keiko not wanting to be alone? Like she has to like go save Tohru, realizing like, oh yeah, I don't actually want to be here by myself. Yayoi heaved a theatrical sigh and smiled wryly. Things hadn't gone smoothly, but the stream was still going, and Yayoi could see a way to end it. Now,
ピーターパンがきちんとウェンディを助けに行く気があるかどうかよね。
I like how she's like kind of talking to us, you know? Not really herself. It feels like she's talking to me. Thinking about the role Maya had said she was playing, Yayoi once again smiled wryly. Interesting.
先輩
Keiko walked alone through the school. When she got out of the shower, she found a note from Tohru saying that he was going to look around. Tohru himself was nowhere to be found. Even after her hair dried and she finished her sweet coffee, which she didn't try to hide anymore, Tohru still hadn't come back.
先輩嫌がらせですか
So she opened the door of an empty classroom. Tohru might have wandered off to cool down from his shower and completely forgot about Keiko. Tohru wasn't here either. Getting her feet caught in the ever-present plants growing all around, Keiko set out for the next classroom without closing the door to this one. Oh, they can actually just trip on these plants. How annoying! Like, because every CG they show, there's so many plants. Can you imagine trying to walk around all those all the time? Where had Tohru gone? Did we pass each other somewhere? Or maybe he had woken up by himself. If so, then I'm alone again.
先輩
Ah, this is what I was worried
ど
about,
こで
guys.
すか
Why would you leave Keiko? Voice grew weak. Just the thought of Tohru leaving was enough to make her feel like she was suffocating. The time that had passed from when Tohru suddenly fell and holding her guitar was shorter than the time Keiko had been alone. She had been alone for longer, and yet, why was it so painful for her to be alone now? Because she realized that she doesn't want to be alone. Her week without Tohru hadn't been this painful. She had no bed, she couldn't take a shower. She slept on a sofa in the hallway, washed her face with cold water, and ate food at the school store. She had passed the time alone, wandering around and singing. She had thought that was solitude, but it was inconvenient and unpleasant. But now things were different. It wasn't just alone. She was alone after being alone with someone. Exactly. Glad she's realizing this herself. What was he doing? Where had he gone? Searching like this wouldn't do any good, but before she was completely emotionally crushed at the thought of him being gone,
先輩どこにいるんですか
her voice echoed through the halls. In this silent world, her voice resounded farther than it would have been shouting into the night. There was a lingering essence to her shouting. Traces of her voice faded into silence. She had thought maybe he would appear right away, but that was what she wanted to happen. She heard no footsteps or signs of anyone hurrying. Must not have been enough, he couldn't hear her. Maybe he wasn't in the school building. He might have been in the gym or might be in the annex building. This was Tohru, so maybe he had gone to the library and was quietly reading a book. They were all maybes, except that maybe he was gone. She had to look for him. There was no shame in it. There was no one else here anyway. When she found Tohru, she was going to give him a piece of her mind. She had to yell because she was worried without Tohru.
どこにいたんですか先輩早く出てきてくれないと
If you don't come out,
泣きますよ
wasn't a threat. She really felt like she was going to cry. Come to think of it, maybe these past few days, Tohru had been a hallucination. Oh no, that'd be a sad thing to think about. She had hated being alone so much that when she wished for it in a dream, he appeared as a hallucination. She was so uneasy that she couldn't help but consider that possibility. Just then she heard footsteps, the muffled sound of indoor shoes. In this world where there was no one else, she heard it loud and clear. Keiko was alone in a dark school, so it should have been horrifying to hear footsteps, but she didn't feel that way. The sound was coming from below. They must have either been at the entrance or outside. Keiko took off running towards those footsteps. They should be right around the corner. But as soon as Keiko turned the corner, she bumped into something soft.
何危ないじゃないってあれケイコどうしたのどこか変なとこぶつけた
Yeah, she bumped into something soft. It cushioned her blow.
ええ余計な脂肪にぶつかりました
I wonder what part of that body that could be. You know, there's only a few parts with excessive body fat, and there's the only one that you really see from the front. Crazy. Keiko tried to sound tough.
何よ ってどうしたの？
She's just
やっぱ
out
り
here,
何かあったんじゃないの？
getting ready to cry, but I gotta be tough, guys. Keiko looked down, seemingly in pain. Yayoi reached for her, genuinely concerned. Keiko didn't want to be touched, so she shook off Yayui's hand.
ほっといてください。
As she shook off Yayui's hand, the tears that had been gathering in the corner of her eyes streaked down her face. Yayui understood and didn't try to move any closer to Keiko.
ごめんなさいね。何を謝っているんですか？
Yayui wasn't entirely unprepared for that
いや、
response.
トールじゃなくて。
She regretted it as soon as she said it. She hadn't meant to say anything that would further corner Keiko. In fact, she hadn't meant to tease Keiko at all, but had ended up doing so out of habit.
何を？そんなことあなたに言われる必要？
Keiko's face was bright red as she tried to act tough, but she couldn't hold her
ご
composure.
めん。今のなかったことにして。何を勝手なことを。ごめんってば。いや、大丈夫。誰にも言わないし、私もなかったことにするから。別に変な気の使い方をしなくても構いません。私は単にあなたの慎みのない箇所に当たって気分が悪くなっただけですから。でもそれでいいわ。胸大きくてごめんね。
It's true. It's really true.
なんでしょう、この湧き上がる敗北感は。
Sense of defeat. Yayui was relieved to see Keiko grit her teeth and glare at her like she usually did. Yayui hadn't meant to see Keiko lonely without Tohru and about to cry. But she couldn't say that. All she could do was pretend not to have noticed.
もうあの男に手を貸す理由はないわね。
Yayui had only wanted to check on something in the first place. She wanted to see how Keiko really felt towards Tohru. She had planned on taking Keiko's dad to her and Tohru for that purpose. She thought she would be able to ascertain the truth precisely because feelings tended to be harder to hide in dreams.
それよりも、あなたもここに来ることができたんですね。そうね。
Yayui was relieved at the change in
まあ、あ
topic.
んたたち二人がいなくなってたから、アリスとサキちゃんと一緒に探しに来たのよ。
Yeah, we still never found out what happened to Alice. Didn't Alice like run off and do something? It acted like she was gonna have some big grand revelation and we haven't seen her since.
先輩の言った通り、やっぱり探してたんですね。
Keiko didn't know whether to feel happy or disappointed. She heaved a sigh instead.
どのくらい、そっちでは私たちはいなかったんですか？ケイコがいなくなってから、確か3日目かしら。なんでそんなこと聞くの？やっぱりこっちの夢では時間が早く進んでいるみたいなので。ケイコ、あなたトールと何日くらいここにいたの？先輩とは1週間も一緒にいませんでした。ただその前はずっと一人でしたけど。
Maybe it was because she had been alone for so long, or maybe it was because she had been with Tohru. But even though this was just Yayui, Keiko couldn't act tough or hide her expression. She looked down instead.
一人の間に何があったか、それとも二人の間に何があったか。
Yayui noticed this but didn't ask for details.
まあ、何があったとしても、ここに来たのって私だけなの？ハスノさん？いえ、会っていませんけど。
Yayui's expression turned sour.
二人っきりにしたらどうなるかってあんなに慌ててたのに。
Saki had been emotionally unstable, to say the least, although she hid it pretty well. It depends. Sometimes she's good at hiding it, sometimes you can just see it in her eyes, you know? She already knew that Tohru and Keiko were sleeping together and accepted that. But the thought of the two of them being somewhere where Saki couldn't reach, and there was nothing she could do to help, pushed her emotions to the brink. However, it seemed that those emotions weren't strong enough for her to make her way here.
それよりも先輩です。どこかで見ませんでしたか？
Keiko asked urgently, almost grabbing onto Yayui. She didn't miss that Yayui averted her eyes.
何をしているんですか？何があったんですか？
This time, Keiko really did grab onto Yayui. She held Yayui by the collar so much that she couldn't get away.
待って、ちゃんと話すから。私はそのつもりでケイコのこと探しに来たのよ。
Yayui had a feeling that Keiko would be here. Yayui's words caused Keiko to release her, but she kept her eyes pinned on Yayui. Yayui was a little taken aback at the sight of Keiko acting like this. She thought Keiko would be more businesslike about it, but there was no way Yayoi could not say anything after all
トールは
this.
さっきケイコの父親に連れて行かれたわ。
Keiko looked confused.
何を言ってるんですか？あの人がどうして？
I like how she refers to her dad as that person, you know?
悪いけど本当のことよ。連れて行かれるところも見てたから。ならなんでどうして止めてくれなかったんですか？それについてはごめんなさいとしか言えないわ。
Originally, Yayoi had planned on following Keiko's father in order to make sure nothing terrible happened to Tohru and possibly sneak him out, but her plans had been ruined due to Maya's arrival. But even if she explained that it was only an excuse, the facts were that Tohru had been taken away and that Yayoi had watched it happen.
説明してください。ええ、そのつもりよ。
Ooh, we're gonna have to go break him out. We were in an empty school hallway at night with the moon shining in on them. It wasn't a particularly long story, so Yayoi told Keiko about how she ended up here. Oh yeah, how are they gonna get, Oh, I guess maybe she can make the keys too. I don't know. Like, how are they gonna get out? Because, Keiko can't escape. Uh-oh, what the hell's going on in here? Is this gonna be, Alice? Or is this gonna be, Saki, maybe? When she arrived at the dream room, she noticed it looked different. Flower petals were scattered all over the floor, especially around where Keiko liked to sit, and there were signs that they'd been stepped on. On the table was a half-drunk cup of tea that had never been there before. It was the cup Tohru always used.
あの子たちは。
Okay, so this must be explaining how she kind of got there in the first place? Tohru had already been here, and now he was gone. He must be with Keiko by now. In that case, Yayoi could only chase after them, but
どうやって？
maybe it's a little idea of how to get where they were that she can help laughing.
その後、アリスとサキちゃんも来ていろいろ試したんだけど、なかなかこっちに飛べなかったのよ。
Finally, they trespassed into Tohru's apartment and used various things as mediums to make keys. They ended up wasting the next 2 nights waking up from dreams they mistakenly found themselves in. It was just today that Yayoi had managed to make it here.
それで、どうしてあの人と一緒になっていたんですか？
Okay, interesting. So they've been trying to get to him
い
for a
つ
while.
の間にかとしか言えないわね。そういう夢なんだと思ったわ。
At first, Yayoi had thought it was a dream based on her wish to find out about Keiko and Tohru's true feelings. She thought Keiko's father was a test the dream had prepared, so she had decided to use
た
him.
だ、トールとケイコの関係を話したのは私よ。そのせいで、トールはケイコの父親に連れて行かれたわ。なんで
Keiko started to reach for Yayoi again but stopped. Yayoi thought Keiko might punch her and was ready for it, but Keiko didn't move.
勝手です。本当に。ろくなことをしませんね。あ、うん。そうね。
Oh my gosh, she's like, I guess, sure.
何ですか？
Maybe I
そんな
maybe I
顔
don't
して。
do anything good. Who knows?
いや、その怒ってるんでしょ？
Really, what gave you that idea?
当たり前です。あなたのせいで先輩があの人に連れて行かれたんでしょ。だから。
So she wasn't gonna do anything. Why wasn't she getting mad?
責任を取ってください。責任？私に何をさせるつもり？
Keiko's unusual request bewildered Yayoi a
わからな
little.
いんですか？先輩はあの人のところから助けに行きます。
Now Yayoi was really surprised.
もっと怒らないの？どうして話したとか、どうして止めなかったとか、何もしなかったのかとか。今言ってどうにかなりますか？
Keiko already looked like her normal self, but Yayoi was still confused.
まあ、あなたが何かしたところで、あの人のやろうとしてることを止められるとは思わないんですけど。
For Yayoi to stop him, she would probably have to do something crazy like Maya
だから
did.
後で先輩が戻ってきてからでいいです。今は私を手伝ってください。あの人と一緒にいたんですよね。だったら先輩たちがどこにいるか知ってるんじゃないですか？それは知ってるけど。ならそこに案内してください。この学校、いつの間にか外に出られるようになっているんですよね。あ、うん。出られる？もしかして今まで外、 出られなくなってたのかしら。ええ、先輩と二人で閉じ込められてました。
Keiko said they had been trapped, but Yayoi had encountered Tohru outside the school grounds. What had Tohru been trying to do? Saving him might be the only way to answer that question.
どうして一人だったのかしら。まさか稽古を本当に置いていくとも思わないし。
Tohru the one Yayoi should have doubts about? Well, that probably wasn't an issue either.
それで助けに行くのに私の力が必要なのかしら。必要です。
Okay, I'm glad that she's just kind of acknowledging that she needs somebody else's help. I feel like that's a big problem. Everybody tries to do things by themselves, and you know how that goes. Not too well. Keiko said it so easily and matter-of-factly that she surprised Yayoi again, although she didn't show it.
まさかふざけたことをしておいて先輩を助けに行く気が起きないなんて言うつもりじゃないでしょうね。普段なら私の力なんて必要ないって言うじゃない。私は先輩たちと違ってこんなふざけた夢で好き勝手できないんです。だから何かあった時に手を貸してくださいって言ってるんです。そんなこともわからないんですか。なるほど、そういうことね。ええ、あとは自分のやったことの責任くらい取ってくれるんでしょ。当たり前。稽古が嫌だって言っても手を貸すわよ。なんでですか。一つは今言った通りトールが連れて行かれたのは私に責任があるから。それともう一つは可愛い後輩が手を貸してほしいって言ってるんだから当然でし
Aww.
ょ。
Aren't you guys such good friends? Keiko took a step back.
なんですか気持ち悪い。先輩が心配だからって言ってくれた方がまだ安心できます。何か裏があるんじゃないんですか。ないわよ。トールも心配だけど夢の中なら一人でほっといても大丈夫だわ。
It was true that as long as Maya wasn't involved, Tohru was very reliable in dreams.
まずいわね。あの子来てるんだった。けどなんかトールの味方みたいだし稽古なら大丈夫かしら。ま、トールは置いといて稽古が私のことを頼ったのなんて初めてでしょ。そういえばそうですね。
Keiko realized that too and was surprised at how easily she found herself relying Yayoi.
まあ頼られて悪いんだけどもしかしたら役に立たないかも。本当に肝心なところで役に立たない女ですね。で、なんでそんなことを言うんですか。
Hey, that's not fair to Yayoi. That's Alistair's job. Had Keiko always had such a sharp tongue, no, this was about right.
トールが連れて行かれた後なんだけどあの子が出てきたのよ。あの子ってまさか。
Yayoi nodded.
トールの妹マイヤが出てきたのよ。
Those words caused Keiko to sigh a little.
何を今さら。あの子が出てきたところで返す気も諦める気もありませんよ。
To Yayoi, that was the issue at hand.
最悪で考えれば敵ではないはずよね。
But there was one more thing to worry about, which she ended up getting swallowed by the crocodile in the process. Alice in Wonderland reference, huh? Is that an Alice in Wonderland reference? The two of them left the school together. The flow of time must have been really different because outside the sun was already rising.
稽古に悪い影響を与えるからって言ってトールに別れるように言ったのよ。
On the way to their destination, Yayoi told Keiko the details about when Tohru was captured.
夢だからってあの人は本当にどれだけ好き勝手するつもりですか。というか気になってたんだけど前といい今回といいあの周りにいる黒服は何なの。施設秘書と講演会の人か警護の人だと思いますけど。すいません、あの人のことは詳しく知らないんです。ま、父親の仕事なんて知ろうと思わなければわからないもんよね。
Yayoi doubted that he used guards like that in real life. She figured that it was probably a manifestation of Keiko's father's image of himself in the dream world. If ever to do what he wanted, the reason he did it flat out without any tricks probably was due more to rationality than
だけど
childishness.
トール無事かしら。何もせずにあっさり見送った人のセリフじゃないですよね。いやまあそうなんだけど。
I think sometimes it's better just to lay low, just to let things happen, you know, and try to present an opportunity later rather than acting in the moment. If she had known this was what would have happened, then Yayoi would have escaped with Tohru, even if it meant grabbing him and flying off somewhere. Regretting it now wouldn't change anything.
それであの人自身は先輩の妹が来てどこかに追い払ったって話ですけど。追い払ったというかどっかにやったというかどこ行ったのかしらね、ほんと。
He got freaking eaten by the void. After all, she did connect the inside of the car to somewhere else and send him through it. Maya had been the one to do it, and as far as they knew, Maya was the most skilled of all of them when it came to controlling dreams. Yayoi had no idea what could have happened to him.
まあいなくなってた方が楽といえば楽かしら。
Yeah, probably better we don't know.
そうかもしれません。
Keiko appeared to be deep in thought. Yayoi thought it might be easier without him, but that was more of a hope than a prediction. Keiko thought it might be better if he was there. Yayoi tilted her head, not quite understanding why Keiko thought
それ
that.
より先輩の妹が来て大暴れって先輩本人は大丈夫なんですか？大丈夫ってトールのこと？そういう意味なら大丈夫よ。トールが運ばれたのはマイヤが出てくる前だもの。
So there was no irregularities in Tohru's behavior, they were just as Yayoi had anticipated. The two of them reached their destination. It was the lowest part of the Tsukio building, an entrance which had connected to a shopping
だけ
arcade.
どどうして稽古の家でもなくてここなのかしら？ここのオフィスフロアに事務所の一つがありますから。
Keiko added that she thought it was for tax
税金
purposes.
対策ね。ほんとお金ってあるところにはあるのよね。
Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest way to build wealth, is just to start off rich. Yayoi's family wasn't poor, but it certainly wasn't rich either. She hadn't been rich when she lived with her birth mother either, in fact, they'd been quite poor. For that reason, Yayoi always had a feeling of inferiority.
今はどうでもいいわね。それでどうするの？どうもこうも普通に通してもらいます。
Keiko fiercely walked up to the entrance. But the men in black suits from yesterday were already waiting. They held out their arms, blocking the
平
way.
坂の娘と協力者のルートウィッチさんです。ここを通してください。
いけません。誰も通すなとの指示を受けています。
Keiko's mood grew even more sour, but the only one who noticed was Yayoi standing behind
平
her.
坂さんに言われて娘さんをこちらにお連れしたんですが連絡は来てないでしょうか？
And we moved quickly to back Keiko up. Keiko didn't bat an eye in the face of Yayui's improvisation. It was as though it had been the plan all along. Besides, it was true that Keiko's dad had been trying to find Keiko, and Yayoi wasn't an enemy of his. That was all Maya's doing.
もしかしてまだお戻りになられてないんですか？
She was pretty sure he was, but she pretended she had no
平坂
idea.
様はすでにお戻りになられています。その上で、たとえ誰であっても通すなと言われています。
Getting a bad feeling about this, Keiko looked back at
昨日
Yayoi.
一人ここに連れてこられた男の子がいたと思うんですが彼は？
我々は何も言うなと言われています。
What should they do? Were these guards just not talking, or did they really not know? It was good that they took their job seriously, but this was becoming problematic. After all, how would they get inside? They were dealing with a man who had forcefully taken Tohru away, just as they were feeling uneasy about what to
そ
do.
う兄さんはその中にいるのね。
Saki! Oh no, did she just shoot them? Did she just walk in and just start blasting? Poor Yayoi and Keiko could even turn and miss their confusion. Something zipped between their heads. They only realized it was a bullet when one of the men behind them collapsed. It's the Saki way. Just come in, just start blasting, ask questions later. I mean, sometimes I appreciate that, and this is one of those times. Next bullet took off a few strands of Yayui's hair before hitting the other guard. Men in black collapsed without a sound. Even though Saki had just shot two people, she didn't seem the least bit concerned.
さあ兄さんを助けに行かないと。
I wonder if we're gonna find out in her route that she secretly likes to play FPS games, so she's used to like just shooting people. They're gonna do something like that, or she's actually a serial killer. Who knows? Could be either. Walked past Keiko and Yayoi started to get inside.
ちょっと待って。何今の？
Yayoi grabbed her shoulder and stopped her. Saki was still holding the handgun that she often conjured in dreams, causing Yayoi to let out an eek.
兄さんが捕まっているんでしょ？
Yeah, Saki don't fuck around. Saki's like, they got freaking Nissan, I'm gonna just start blasting. I'm gonna start popping heads.
捕まったというか、無理やり連れて行かれたというか。
Also known as captured.
そう。私の兄さんを無理やり捕まえるだなんて。 覚悟もできてないくせに運の悪いもの知らずね。
Those poor fools don't know what they've done. Yayoi quickly grabbed Keiko's hand and got her out of Saki's way. The two men lay sprawled on the ground with no signs of blood despite having been shot in the head. They looked more like mannequins than human bodies. Seeing this, Saki snorted.
本物の人ですらないなら手加減しなくても良さそうね。嘘！最初から手加減なんてしてなかったくせに。
Yeah, I wouldn't say shooting them in the head was going easy, but sure. I mean, maybe like putting them out of their misery quickly, but Saki. Yeah, we hid in fear behind
そ
Keiko.
んなに怖がらなくても大丈夫ですよ、弥生先輩。兄さんの敵にならない限りはですけど。蓮野さん、この人昨日の夜。ストップ！それはもう過ぎたことでしょ。今はこうして灯籠を取り戻しに行く側に回ってるんだから、ほらね。
I like how Keiko was literally trying to throw Yayoi under the bridge. Loki looked at the two of them suspiciously.
ま、いいんですけどね。一応、弥生先輩は兄さんの味方だって思ってますから。
Yeah, we nodded several times in silence on Keiko's side.
蓮野さんよりも先にルートウィッチ先輩が来たってどういうことなんでしょう。
What kind of thoughts or methods had Yayoi used to get here? Keiko thought it must have been because Yayoi is more used to
行きま
dreams.
しょう。くだらないことがもっとくだらないことになる前に。
I don't know, Yayui's pretty good at, like, conveniently showing up. With the other two behind her, Keiko started walking. Almost like she kind of downplays her ability to, like, handle dreams in situations like these. When I woke up, I was sitting in a chair in a hotel room. Wasn't this the same CG we saw before when we, like, were invading the building? First, I was confused about how I lost consciousness while sitting in a chair, but when I took a look at my posture, I understood. My hands were tied behind the chair, my legs were in front. This really modern-day Japan. Plus, it was a fancy hotel. If it was a warehouse or a ruined store, I'd get that, but this is a hotel, isn't it? I thought it looked familiar, then I realized it must have been one of the residencies at the Tsukio building. It is the same place. That's why they reused this. I had snuck in here once in a dream. But back then, I had been one of the rescuers, not the one who had been captured. Anyways, I couldn't seem to get free. Maybe there was some kind of band specifically used for restraint rather than some random cloth or cords. My arms and legs were tightly bound, making it impossible for me to undo them. As I struggled, the entrance opened. Wondering who it was, I somehow managed to turn my head and saw Hirosaka's father. There was one man in black with him. He must have been the one who told Hirosaka's father that I was awake. Don't you think this is a little excessive? I tried to get my arms free, but it still wasn't working.
君に乱暴を働かれてはたまらないのでね。
So it's okay when you do it.
それが必要なら当然だ。
I felt a little dizzy at how he said that so casually, though his eyes seemed mostly uninterested. Right now, he was obviously giving me an angry look. What's with his eyes? It was look cold, but never this dark
円
before.
滑な話し合いのために劣る方が相手に合わせるのは当然だろう。
A discussion with
Oh.
me.
稽古との関係を君自身の口から聞いていなかったのでね。
Folded his arms, looked down at me. But when he did, I could smell the sweet nightmare fragrance emanating from him. I don't know for sure what Club Prez, Litwich-san, said, but I don't think she was
なら
lying.
ばつまり君は稽古と付き合っているというわけだ。
Yes, I am. Just then he grabbed my collar with his right hand. Wow, he got close really fast. Need some personal space here, buddy. The hell? I could smell the nightmare scent coming off his right hand. When did this happen? At the very least, he hadn't smelled like this when I first ran into him.
それがどういう意味か分かっているのか。
It means we're having sex. Ha! As much as I hate to admit it, Hirosaka Keiko was the one who asked me out. He haphazardly let go of me, able to breathe freely again. Did what I could to compose myself. Besides, we're both students. What's the problem with fellow students going out with each other?
君のような何の脳もない人間が稽古と釣り合いが取れるとでも思っているのか。
Talentless, huh? So you say, but you, explain how we're unequal
そ
exactly.
の必要はない。ただ以後稽古に近づきさえしなければ。
I don't, mean explain it to me. I'm telling you to explain it to Keiko.
何？
I told you, I didn't choose her, she chose me. So I'm telling you to explain to your daughter how she and I are unequal. You can convince Keiko and she says she can't go out with me, then I'll accept that. Actually, I wasn't confident I'd be able to accept it. But that was really what Hirosaka wanted to do, and she accepted it, and I prepared myself. Though I doubt it would happen. You understand this, that at this rate, Keiko will leave home as soon as she can, right? With or without me in this
バカ
equation.
バカしい。何を根拠に言っている。あれはまだ子供だ。
But she's old enough to choose a boyfriend by herself without you even knowing. Hirosaka's father glared at me, his eyes still dark. Neither of us is going to be a child forever, soon we'll be on our own. If you asked me if that was what it meant to grow up, I would disagree. But still, that meant we would be able to live together, and it wasn't that far away.
稽古が私の保護から離れて生きていけるものか。
It's true that for now, she lacks for nothing. Hirosaka's family was rich and they had authority, but the one who earned that authority and protected it was the adult standing in front of me now, who I couldn't get along with. We're still children, so I don't understand your struggles, but I can see what you want to do or why you're trying to do it. Keiko was the same way. She said that her values differ from yours, and she wants to leave.
稽古がそう言ったと。
She did. When she came to my place, she said that even if she had no money and ended up struggling in ways she could never imagine, that it would still be better than living with her father.
何をバカな。それこそ苦労を知らない子供の理屈だ。世間もろくに知らない稽古が一人で外に出て耐えられるわけがないだろ。
I think he underestimates how resourceful people are when they're put in different situations, especially if it's a lot different than what they're used to. They adapt. It's a difficult process, but you learn to deal with it. News follows it that she can't value her surroundings rather than the outside
あ
world.
れはまだ子供だ。そのうちに私が正しかったと嫌でも気づく。
I don't know. I'm very much a believer in you can be happy whether you're poor or you're rich. You can find ways to make it enjoyable. Who doesn't want to have money? Money eliminates a lot of problems in life and allows you to focus on other things, but it doesn't necessarily fix it unless you put in the effort yourself. Make it sound like being an adult means you know what's right.
当然だ。
Then why did your wife leave you? Damn! Oh! When I saw he was gonna hit me, I grit my teeth. Wasn't a surprise attack, I saw it coming. Wow, he didn't even have a response. He just went straight to hitting him. Lame. With a loud noise, I fell alongside my chair. Taste of blood, it seemed like I cut the inside of my cheek in my fall. Ha, according to Keiko. Of course, your wife dumped you. I thought you understood since you were an adult.
貴様。
Wow. Well, Tohru got him, though. That was good. His eyes turned black. The unpleasant nightmare scent filled the room. Still on the floor, I looked up at him. What good will it do to force Keiko and me apart? Do you think Keiko will be grateful to you for that? Do you honestly think that someday she'll believe that you were right? No matter how thick and sweet the nightmare scent became, I couldn't keep quiet. You're just gonna keep breaking any relationships Keiko gets into that you don't agree with. What will that solve?
稽古にはいずれ私がふさわしい相手を用意する。
For what purpose? Really, for what purpose? I at least wanted to be, it to be for Hirosaka's sake. I wanted it to be out of fatherly love, even if it was just clumsy and twisted and hard to understand.
貴様には関係ない。それに少なくとも私は貴様が稽古にふさわしいとはかけらも思っていない。妹を亡くし現実との区別もつかなくなった半病人が稽古のこともどうせ夢と区別がついていないんだろう。
Wow. Okay, that was sharp. You're right, it is like a dream. I was like, I wasn't expecting him to say that. That was aggressive. I answered as spitefully as I could. I wasn't angry about him mocking me. After all, it was all true, and I was annoyed at myself for that. But I wasn't obligated to be nice to someone who spoke ill of me, no matter who it was. I wasn't that soft. Keiko was a good girl, so much that I have a hard time believing that you're her father, although she does do things at her own pace. Plus, it was tricky to date her since she was anything but demure and docile. You said that you would eventually find a partner for Keiko. Do you think she'll go along with that?
当たり前だ。貴様のような相手とは比べ物にならないくらいにまともな人間を連れてきてやろう。
You think the current Keiko will just say, yes, sir, and listen to what you have to say? He didn't answer. The fact that he didn't reply immediately was a vehement of course, showed that he wasn't completely blind to his relationship with his daughter. Even if they had hardly any points of contact, he still noticed her. If she wasn't the type to obey you, then she wouldn't have started going out with me, would she? In the end, he was able to notice that his daughter had changed, but he couldn't go along with it. He was the real pain of an adult, and I don't think they would be able to understand each other. I can see why Hirosaka felt suffocated and wanted to run away. If that was out of fatherly love, then I just couldn't blindly hate him. But oh no, laughing like Maya. Why does everybody laugh? Covered his face with his right hand and started laughing. The composure was now completely different than before, giving me a bad feeling. The man with him seemed to notice as well and quietly approached Hirosaka's father. Maybe he was trying to say something.
確かにいつからだろうな。稽古が私の言うことを聞かなくなったのは。
Even though his voice was quiet, there was something creepy about it, like it wasn't really someone's voice. Then he looked down at me with cold, cloudy eyes.
貴様のせいか。
What are you talking about? Hirosaka has hardly changed at all since I first met her. She did things at her own pace to live for the moment. What an awkward underclassman. But he nodded, seeming not to hear me.
そうか。私の稽古に悪いことを吹き込んだのはお前か。
The hell are you saying? He grabbed my shoulder even though I was attached to the chair. He easily lifted me up and brought his face close to
やれ
mine.
やれ。困った子供だ。おい。縛り直して連れてこい。
Where are you taking me?
何？稽古も目の前で処分されれば素直に従うようになるだろう。
Dispose of me? What was he saying? Wow, he's getting aggressive. And the man in black seemed confused.
貴様を妹のところに送ってやる。
Damn. Okay. His expression of voice sent a shiver down my spine. What are you gonna do? I think you know what he's gonna do.
連れてこい。
And with that, he left the room. What was he gonna do? I had a bad feeling about this. Yeah, he just said, I'm gonna let you rejoin your sister. He's saying he's gonna kill you. Like, what did you not understand about that? Inside the Tsukiya building was fortified like a stronghold.
もうキリがない。
Ever since they'd entered, the girls had been under attack by constant attack by men in black. Saki had her gun, but she could only protect Keiko, so on the way they had gotten separate from
ルートウィ
Yayoi.
ッチ先輩は父の側についていたと言っていたんですが。
Keiko mercilessly dispatched their adversaries with a quick chop to the back of their necks. This was enough to take down the men, perhaps because this is a dream.
まあ何があっても弥生先輩なら兄さんの次くらいにはほっといても大丈夫じゃないかしら。
Saki reloaded her guns, at least this was the case in the dreams. Yayoi was usually awful when it came to physical activity and would usually need to be pulled along or else she'd fall
ハスナさん
behind.
向こうからまた来ます。いい加減飽きないのかしら。
As she spoke, Saki ruthlessly opened fire into the oncoming men in black. They were practically drones with hardly any individuality, so there was no need to hesitate before shooting them. Like a shooting range that allowed firing from the hip.
平坂さんがいるからかな。向こうが飛び道具を持ち出さないのは助かるわと。
Saki murmured after shooting a man in the head who leapt out from behind a pillar and tried to grab them. Then went limp and fell to the ground face down. The way he fell made Keiko take a step back.
夢の中とはいえこんなことして影響はないんでしょうか。
In the case, the men were actually human and was just dreaming like they
大
were.
丈夫よ。兄さんも言ってたけど夢の中で死ぬのなんて日常茶飯事だって。
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a penalty for dying, or like suffering a fatal wound. Saki reminded Keiko that her brother was used to dreams, but then she remembered that she had dreams like that too.
高いところから落ちる夢、とても怖いものに追いかけられる夢、何かの事故で死んでしまう夢、どれもこれもはっと目を覚ますものでしょう。
Saki mowed down the men in black who appeared hardly missing any shots. Checking to make sure that there was no one around, Saki reloaded her guns again. How many bullets did she have in those pockets? Keiko was curious, but she understood this was just because this was a dream.
死ぬ瞬間まで夢の中にいるわけがない。もしもそんなことがあれば、
Saki slipped backwards and reloaded
その
again.
人はもうもともと夢から逃れられなかったのよ。兄さんの受け売りだけどね。
Then Saki turned to where there hadn't been any people, wondering if it was a surprise attack. Keiko looked in the same direction.
ちょっと待ってよ。私だってば。
Alice. I would laugh if she just shot her anyways. Like, after noticing it's her, she just like, oops! Alice would come out of a door, and upon seeing a gun pointed at her, immediately raised her hands.
今頃来たんですか？ほんと、兄さんの言う通り。何よ、トールが私のこと何 て言ってたっていうのよ。
Tohru's always talking shit about you, Alice. I hope you know that. He said that she tended not to be around when they most needed her, and even when she was ultimately useless. But Saki didn't mention that.
それよりアリスさん、先輩とうちの父親と本当についでですけど、ルートウィッチ先輩を見ませんでしたか？弥生は見てないけど、他の2人のことなら見たわよ。2人？先輩とあの人ですか？どこに行ったんですか？落ち着いて、ケイコ。上、なんかトールがぐるぐる巻きに縛られて屋上の方に連れて行かれるのを見たの。
屋上？一体何をするつもりかしら。
Why have they been tied up? Saki figured that he would be left or abandoned, but why are they going to the roof?
どうするにしても早く行かないと。ちょっと待って。
Keiko started running, but Alice called out to her.
何ですか？アリスさんも早く。ねえ、ケイコ。あなた、この夢を終わらせたいの？
どういう意味ですか、アリスさん。
ここに来るまでに何があったのか大体見えたの。だから分かってるの。ここがある意味ケイコの望んだ夢だって。
Saki had also seen most of the details alone, not all. Keiko wanted to be alone, so she ended up alone. Then when she got lonely, Tohru came. They lacked a lot of things, but because they were both there, it's bearable enough of a world. Ever since Tohru had ruined that world, the stream had already started to end. Hirosaka and Yayoi had been invited to the stream, arrived here and Tohru had been taken away when Keiko wasn't around. But
多分うまくやれば私やトールなら元のケイコが楽しかった頃の夢に戻せる。けどここでケイコが満足すれば。何をバカなことを言ってるんですか。そんなの願い下げです。
suddenly Keiko smiled in a way that would irritate some people.
誰かに与えてもらった幸せになんて元から興味ありません。それに先輩はこの夢が終わっても一緒にいてくれるって言っていました。ならそれでいいんです。
It was almost as if Tohru had given an answer to Keiko's confession. It was because she understood that she didn't need to hear his answer right away. It had been selfish of Keiko to refuse to hear his answer until they returned, but she wanted to see him live up to that promise. Of course, that wasn't the only reason. It was also so that she wouldn't be chained to her if he changed his mind during the dreams with just the two of them.
確かに私は一人が好きです。気楽ですし、人のペースに合わせなくてもいいですから。
Maybe Tohru wouldn't like being with her because of that.
平坂さん。
けど先輩がいない世界は嫌です。蓮野さんもあの気の合わない先輩もアリスさんだっていてくれた方がまだ世の中マシになります。なんかすっごい私おまけ扱いじゃない？
いや、それはまあ。
Or Keiko wouldn't even cared if they were there or not, but now she wanted them to be around.
起きた後でも私は何も変わりませんから。だからこそこんな人の手のひらの上にいるのは。そっかケイコは強いな。強い？そんなことはないです。そんなことない。現実と変わらないって言うけど現実は変わることがある。だけどたとえ誰かの手のひらの上だったとしても夢は幸せなままだよ。誰かの手のひらの上ってだけで私はどんな幸せも必要じゃありません。もっともその手のひらを自分で選べるならそれでもいいのかなと思いますけど。
例えば兄さんが頑張って平坂さんを幸せにしてくれるとか、そういうこと？
ああ、その場合は蓮野さんと一緒に踊れるとよりいいですね。
Saki had said this in jealousy, also referring to the sex they had, but Keiko's response caused her to imagine them both happily dancing in Tohru's palm for a moment. But she shook it off. Alice and Keiko tilted their heads.
そっか、ケイコがそう言うならじゃあそれでいいかな。
Alice tossed something shiny to Keiko. Was it a key? When Keiko caught it, she realized it was a plain-looking
そ
key.
れ屋上の鍵。多分トールたちはそっちに行ったと思うから急いで行ってあげて。
Better hurry before he gets yeeted off the roof.
アリスさんは一緒に来てくれないんですか？
ごめん。私じゃきっと止められないし。あとは。やっぱり一緒に行けない。理由は話せない。ただ、そういうものだって思ってほしいかな。
Dreams don't need reasons. This is something Tohru had said to Saki many times, but Saki thought that some dreams did have reasons, like how Tohru had summoned Maya.
わかりました。ハスノさん、行きましょう。
アリスさん。
Not quite convinced, Saki
行って
hesitated.
らっしゃい。私は一緒に行っても何もできないし、多分邪魔になるから。ここは私に任せて先に行ってってことでどうかな。その調子の良さ、なんだか先輩みたいです。そうかな。でも大丈夫。本当に終わるまでなんとか食い止めておくから。
Alice waved her hand lightly. It really seemed like she wasn't coming along, which Keiko found curious, but Men in Black really hadn't appeared while they were talking.
それではまた後で。
That's because it's Maya. Just kidding. My theory about Alice actually being Maya. That's a gold one. Like, I don't have any reason to think that. It's just little
そうだ
things.
ね。
Reading too much into things. Can you imagine?
バイバイ。私が見られるのはここまでだ。
It wasn't the first time, so Alice saw him off of
さ
a
ー
wave.
てと、ちょっと耐えてみますか。
Alice looked down the hallway the way Saki and Keiko had come. It didn't look any different, but
もうずいぶん崩れてるみたいだし、弥生は大丈夫かな。
below here, the dream had collapsed a long time ago. This is a dream that Keiko had wished for, a dream to be alone. She had already started to wake up ever since Tohru had forcefully fell in. If they woke up now, then their story wouldn't end
今
properly.
さら自分のことを思い出すなんて、ほんとギリギリだな、私も。
Ah, shit, what? It's because she remembered who she was that she couldn't follow them. And in the next dream, she was probably going to forget those memories as well.
だけど、一言謝っておいた方がいいか
But
な。
there wasn't much time until the dream collapsed. If she apologized and explained herself, she wouldn't have time to do what she needed to do.
今さら謝れないか。
Are we gonna get Alice's backstory in Keiko's route? When it was starting to split, she was managing to hold this dream together, but she was nearing her
それ
limit.
じゃあみんな、また今度夢で会おうか。
Alice concentrated as much as she could on the melting floor, walls, ceiling, and scenery she could see outside the windows, but it wasn't enough. Bruh. Oh, well now I feel kind of bad for Alice. In the collapsing dream, Alice fell into the darkness along with the crumbling hallway. The last thing she heard
ご苦労
was...
様ね。だけど、これできっとこの夢は間に合ったわ。
I don't know, are they connected in some way? Like, so when I'm talking about, like, Alice secretly being Maya, I'm not saying, like, it's literally Maya, but, like, maybe, like, somebody that works with Maya? You know, like, somebody she created, like, to be kind of, like, I don't know, what would you call that? Sounded like there was a hint of sadness in her voice. Like, a way for Maya to kind of, like, direct Tohru without, you know, being there. Leaving Alice behind, the two hurried forward. If things were the same as the last time when they came here, then the stairs that led to the roof were just ahead. But just then,
うわ、まだあんなにいたなんて。
when they looked back the hallway they just passed through was full of men in black chasing after them. Not just from down the hallway, there was also appearing from side rooms and behind pillars, places where they obviously hadn't been
あとは
before.
任せろって言っていた人がいたと思うんですが。
まあ、だけど、アリスさんを責めるのは悪いかしら。
There was more people appearing from nearby than there were coming from where Alice was. If Tohru had been there, he probably would have noticed that sweet nightmare smell coming from those
平
men.
坂さん、この上が屋上なら一人で行けるわよね。
ハスノさん、まさか。
私がここで足止めするわ。後ろからこんなに来られちゃたまらないでしょ。
Saki handed one of the guns she'd been holding to Keiko.
私、銃なんて撃ったことないんですけど。
ゲーム感覚で撃てば当たるわ。夢だもの。
Sure. Yeah, that's totally how that would work. Yep. I mean, it's a dream, so why not? That's right. This is a dream, or if you did it like you were playing a game in an arcade, you would hit them. Keiko was still hesitating, so Saki pushed her a little more
言っ
firmly.
て。それで兄さんをお願い。
Saki couldn't believe she was leaving Tohru in someone else's care like this. She smiled wryly despite herself.
わかりました。ここを片付けたら後からでも来てくださいね。
Keiko ran off holding the gun. She had entrusted Tohru to Keiko already, so she didn't look in the direction Keiko had
そ
gone.
れにしてもよくもこんなに飽きないのかしら。
Saki shot the men in black so easily it almost looked like she wasn't even trying, and then melted into the air as if they were trying not to get in the way of their comrades. Backing up, Saki continued to shoot the men so they couldn't get past, but they were gradually closing in.
これで平坂さんたちの邪魔をさせたらアリスさんと一緒よね。
She imagined Tohru telling her that it wasn't useful when they needed her most. If that happened, she wouldn't be able to forgive herself. The men in black didn't feel like people at all, they just blindly charged at her.
あの人たちができて私ができない理由がないわよね。
Firing her last bullet, Saki threw away her gun. She was unarmed and out of ammo, so then the men in black thought, or so the men in black thought as they swarmed around her, but Saki reached behind a nearby pillar, pulled out what had been hiding behind it. Please tell me she gets a sword. Oh no, I wanted her to get a sword. The submachine gun was the most dangerous weapon Saki had fired before at a shooting range overseas.
まこんなとこよね。
They pulled out something even more dangerous than a handgun for her own
ほ
strength.
んと兄さんもこのくらいできるはずなんだから早く自分で逃げてくれればいいの。
I just want her to have a sword because it looks like she's in a yukata. It looks like she would just have like a sword, you know? She looks like a samurai a little bit. You know, a gun's cool too. The small size, she opened fire. Okay, what's going on the roof? I want to see. Just as Keiko stepped through the door to the roof, the single shots that came from Saki's direction became a barrage of gunfire.
ハスノさん、大丈夫でしょうか。
What was she doing? And the thought quickly disappeared from her mind as she saw what was happening in front of her. It was her father, and at his feet was Tohru with his hands and legs bound.
誰も通すなと言っておいたのだがな。学生相手に役に立たないことだ。
Apparently, the idea that the daughter of a security company's president could pull out guns from thin air and mow them all down didn't cross his mind. Probably not. I would imagine not. His face contorted at the thought of his subordinate's uselessness.
先輩に何をしたんですか。
大したことはしていない。ただお前に近づかないように言っただけだ。
You also threatened to kill him, but you know, let's conveniently leave that part out. Tohru laid limp and motionless on the
そ
ground.
れだけでそんな風になるわけがないじゃないですか。先輩から離れてください。
Keiko's father looked surprised at his daughter's outburst.
お前が私に命令をするのか。
Ooh.
命令なんかじゃありません。けどお願いです。先輩を離してください。
Father's piercing stare was almost enough to make her legs tremble. She was afraid. She wanted to cower. There was no one else in the roof beside them and the unconscious Tohru. There was no one for her to act tough for, so she felt tempted just to say understood like always. But she managed to keep her composure. She felt the weight of the gun Saki had given her in her hand, and she was reminded why she came here.
私はハスノさんに先輩のことを任されたんだ。
Keiko knew how important Tohru was to Saki. Normally Saki would just charge out here and save Tohru herself, even if she had to shoot her way through to do it. But Saki had left it to Keiko. Keiko knew what that meant.
先輩とのことはあなたには関係ありません。
なら、お前も私と関係ないとでも言うのかな。
そんなことは。
私は今までお前に大抵のことは好きにさせてきた。
He looked straight at
勝
Keiko.
手な外泊も外で歌って回る恥ずかしい趣味も許してきた。
ならどうして先輩はダメなんですか。
こんな半病人の男が私の娘と関係を持つなどとても許せたことではないからだ。
Invalid. Hearing her beloved be called that enraged
どう
Keiko.
してあなたはそんなことが言えるんですか。
それが事実だからだ。彼もそれは認めていたよ。
だからって人を悪く言っていいわけがない。どうしてあなたはそうやってすぐに人を見下すんですか。
お前は取るに足らない相手が私たちに近づいてこようなどとおこがましいとは思わないのか。
自分がどれだけ偉いつもり。
私が思う程度に私は偉い。ケイコ、お前も私の娘だという自覚をそろそろ持ってほしいもの
What
だ。
an arrogant asshole. I'm as important as I think I am. Yeah, I can see that in the way you manifested yourself in the stream. Like he had that time at Christmas, Hirosaka reached into his clothes and pulled out a handgun. It was smaller than the one Saki had given Keiko, but it was more than enough to shoot Tohru at this distance. Hell yeah. We get a cool CG of her pointing a gun? Let's go. Gosh, I need to play more games with guns. You know, it's really cool when they're just like getting ready to shoot somebody. Pointed the gun at her father. No one would stop her this time. If she wanted to shoot him, she could. Just because this is a dream didn't mean that she was comfortable pointing a gun at her father. Noticing this, her father pointed the gun at Tohru and looked at Keiko.
それが私に物を頼む態度か。
お願いします。先輩を撃たないでください。
Hurry and wake up. If you do, you'll be able to escape on your own. Please don't make me shoot him. The Keiko, her hands trembling, kept her gun pointed at her
こ
father.
の男のためなら私にも銃を向けるのか。
私だって嫌です。だけど
ならばこの男に二度と近づかないと誓え。
Gosh, this CG just goes so hard. It reminds me of a certain one from Find Love or Die Trying.
ケイコ、お前がそう約束するのなら私は何もしない。
He was serious. Her father didn't lie about things like this. If she did that, then Tohru would be saved right now. Being shot wouldn't normally kill anyone in a dream, but right now there was too much under the influence of this dream. So much that that it might be possible for Tohru to actually
そ
die.
んなこと。
なぜ私の言うことに従わない。お前はもっと聞き分けの良い子だっただろう。
Keiko didn't think that the relationship was overly strict. Her
今
father
ま
didn't
で
seem
は
to care
私が
about
甘
her.
かっただけか。
Hey, can you... Hey, shut up. I've already moved past your dialogue. He only cared about himself and his business, but now her boyfriend was intruding into that business. Her father couldn't stand the thought of Tohru taking a position close to his, so even if they overcame this, Tohru might not be
も
forgiven.
しも私が嫌だって言ったら。
言うまでもない。ただ、お前はいつか私が正しかったと気づくはずだ。
You know, I think as a parent, there's a lot of times when you would think that way. You'd be like, okay, I'm doing this for you. It's not really what you want, right? But in the long run, it's going to be better for you. And I think it's okay in some ways to do things like that. I mean, obviously this isn't okay, but I think there's times when you have to kind of push your child or push, you know, you got to be pushed or push somebody to do certain things that they don't want to do. Maybe it's scary, maybe it's hard for them, maybe they're unsure of how it's going to go, but they need that push to like get through it. And it usually ends up working out most of the time, right? Like hopefully like you're helping them get through it too. But I don't think it's right necessary to say that you'll like, oh yeah, one day you're going to thank me, you know, to have that kind of attitude. You're doing it out of love and hoping it works out. Just because, you know, at the time you think it's the best decision. Yeah, don't do it with this idea that like, oh yeah, they're gonna thank me, they're gonna love me for this. It's like, no, they're gonna come to regret, you know, having you in their life, and they're gonna resent you for it if you have this kind of attitude towards it. Your father's eyes looked serious, but they always seemed cloudy somehow, like he was dreaming.
ここで私がもう会わないと言えば先輩は助かる。
And at least the worst case scenario could be avoided. It wasn't something for her to decide while he was sleeping. She could just get through the situation.
もう一度言います。先輩から離れて銃を捨ててください。
She couldn't do it. Keiko's hands were still shaking. She didn't know if she could hit him, but she kept the gun pointed at him. She wasn't aiming for anywhere in particular. She had the barrel trained on him as steadily as she could manage.
お前
Face twisted. Was it in anger, frustration, or something else? His daughter hadn't obeyed him, that was all. In this dream world, his mental state was unstable and his defiance was too much for him. The trigger was pulled. There was an all too familiar bang.
貴様
Clutching his hand, Keiko's father took a step back. Gosh, sorry, I had a sneeze coming on and then it left as soon as it came. Wow. It wasn't Keiko who had fired. It's very unsatisfying though when you don't sneeze. The gun had already fired, had already disappeared from her hands.
ったく、どんな事情があったとしても自分の親に銃を向けちゃダメよ。
Yeah, you had been the one who pulled the trigger.
先輩、
Keiko made a face like she didn't understand what had happened. Yayoi apparently snatched the gun from Keiko's hand and fired it in her stead. Having been shot, Keiko's father dropped his gun and backed away from Tohru. Only upon seeing her father holding his hand did Keiko realize what had happened. His hand wasn't bleeding at all.
私を手伝うと言っていたのは嘘か
手伝いはしたわ。けど、あなたと私は目的が違っていただけのことよ。
I mean, she did kind of help him, in a way. Yayoi kept her eyes on Keiko's father. She was even more cautious than
目
Keiko.
的だとこの男が欲しかったのではないのか
なめないで。確かに私にとってトールはケイコよりも大事な相手だけど、そんなつもりであなたに手を貸したわけじゃないのよ。
Yayoi glanced at Keiko out of the corner of her
この
eye.
子が本当にトールのことが好きなのか、それとも拾われた子犬が懐いた程度なのか確かめたかったのよ。どういう意味ですか？言ったままの意味よ。トールはいい子だから恋人には尽くすでしょうね。だけどケイコはそこにつけ込むだけなのかもって思ってたのよ。相手が優しいのをいいことに甘えるだけなのかってね。何ですかそれ。あんた最初トールに懐いてたのは父親に対しての当てつけがなかったって言えるの？逃げてただけじゃないって言える？
Keiko fell silent.
好きだからじゃない。トール以外の男でもよかったようなら、私はサキちゃんのところに戻るように何でもするつもりだったわ。
Keiko could see that Yayoi loved Tohru, but more importantly, she loved Tohru and Saki. So she meddled in her own way to see if it was alright for Keiko to be Tohru's
だけどケイ
girlfriend.
コ、あなたが思った以上に一途な女だって分かったから。だから手伝ってあげる。あなたに言われるのは尺ですけど、確かに自分でも驚いてます。私は先輩がいないと思う。
稽古お前
Keiko's father gritted his teeth and stared at her. She looked at him right back.
私はあなたが嫌いです。父親としても人としても。それでも私はあなたの子供だから。だから嫌いでも何でも私はあなたに頼らないと生きていけません。
Because I'm a child, because I was born into your
私は
family.
世間知らずで無力です。まだ一人で生きていくことだってできませんし、家を出て苦労しようなんてことを選ぶくらいなら、たとえ嫌いな相手でもあなたの保護を受けて楽に生きることを選んでいます。
She knew what she was saying was selfish. She had a house and allowance to do as she liked, and she could sing and have friends, but
私を育ててくれたことには感謝します。これからもまだ少しだけあなたに頼らないとならない。どうしてもっときちんと父親でいてくれないんですか？
this was the first time Keiko had ever said this to her father.
お母さんも家を出て行って私の恋人を無理やり別れさせようとして、あなたの望みは何なんですか？結局何がしたいんですか？
Well, yeah, this is like kind of the first time we've really seen her break down in front of her father and like have this kind of conversation. Yayoi held on to Keiko, who was practically in tears.
私は
嫌いです。お父さんだって大嫌いです。
Keiko's father grit his teeth just then. Tohru let out a groan from where he lay bound on the ground.
貴様が
Naturally unaware of what Yayoi was thinking, Tohru stirred.
貴様が稽古を変えたのか
Keiko's father slowly approached Tohru. Even if he had a gun, they couldn't just let him do what he wanted. Keiko shook off Yayui's hand and ran into Tohru. Yayui pointed her gun at Keiko's father again. It was almost a fluke that she'd been able to hit him the first time. She had altered the dream to do it. Now Keiko was in the way, and Yayui didn't know what to do in order to not hit either her or Tohru. The sweet nightmare smell coming from Keiko's father was now so strong that even Yayui could smell it. As soon as he heard this, Keiko's father froze. The hand he had raised when Keiko ran to Tohru froze in place.
チックタックチックタック。はあ、とってもいい匂い。おいしそうな匂いがするわ。
Oh boy. Oh boy. What's gonna happen here? CGs were getting good. I'm glad they've included a few. I feel like we were kind of deprived of one for a while, and now they're just throwing out a few cool ones. Licking her lips, Maya had appeared behind Keiko's father as if she walked out from his shadow.
お兄ちゃんを傷つける相手は許さない。そう言ったはずだったのに、結局こうしちゃうんだから。救えないわ。理解がないわ。悲しくなるわ。
I feel like they're setting this up for like a really brutal CG. I would love like a really like gory graphic one where she just like cuts him in half or something. It's like, you're useless to me.
黙れ私は
Like,
私の
don't you dare hurt my brother. Just slice him in half.
そんなの知らないわ。右手を食べられた大人のおじさん。今はね、私、あなたが食べたくて仕方がないの。
He still has his right hand though, or at least it's right there, right? Giggling, Maya gave an all too familiar
意固地
smile.
になって頭の固い大人の夢はどんな味がするのかしら。ねえ、大事な娘に嫌いって正面から言われて、今どんな気分かしら。
Maya? Still in Keiko's arms, Tohru sensed the presence of the nightmare and slowly woke up.
今さら気づいたのね、お兄ちゃん。もう少しこのおじさんをいじめたかったけど、仕方ないわ。何をするつもりなんですか。稽古の大嫌いな大人を食べてあげるの。きっと素敵な夢を見られるわ。子供を傷つけた大人が見る悪夢はどんな素敵な夢かしら。待ちなさい、マヤ。待たないわ。せいぜい夢の中で後悔しなさい。
What the frick? What is that? Not like a crocodile or something. Before Keiko could reach out to him, Maya's shadow surrounded Keiko's father. Yeah, what the frick? It grew bigger and wider than his whole body, and like the jaws of a crocodile closed in on him in an instant. Oh, Alice wasn't Alice mentioning the crocodile? Was that who it was? Grew bigger and wider than his whole body, like okay.
チックタックチックタック。
Yeah. Keiko's father pried the black jaws open again with his arms and legs.
私は
おやすみなさい。これからはいい悪い夢を。とてもつまらない寝言だったわ。おじさん。
Damn. I love her mischievous smile right here, though. I think that's when Maya's at her best, is when she's got this really sharp grin going on. The gaping black maw closed around him, easily disappeared into the shadows.
やっぱり頭の固い大人はダメね。すぐに夢に飲まれて自分じゃなくなっちゃうもの。
Didn't they mention Peter Pan earlier too? Yeah, that's because that's what I kept thinking of. I'm like, is that related to Alice in Wonderland? That the whole thing about the crocodile and the TikTok, and because I was just thinking of Peter Pan, you know, the whole time. But I'm like, are those connected in some way? Oh yeah, was that? Leaning against Keiko's shoulder, Tohru got to his feet still and
悪
steady.
い夢よ。起きたらその程度のことになって終わっちゃうわ。
本当にひどい悪夢よね。娘に嫌いって言われた挙句、ワニに食べられておしまいなんて。
I think he deserved it. Thinking that there was no longer anything to worry about, Yayoi relaxed and threw away her gun. Maya giggled like she always did and stood in front of everyone else. Did you help me?
今はね。だって私の大事な大事なお兄ちゃんですもの。
Yeah, Maya's definitely caused us some problems, but she does genuinely care about Tohru. Maya narrowed her eyes and looked up at
だ
Tohru.
から意地悪するの。お兄ちゃんに彼女なんてできたから。可愛い妹の可愛い嫉妬は続くのよ。
And this dream really was your fault. Maya smiled.
もうおしまいです。この夢はあなたが作った望み通りの夢じゃなくなってる。あら、どうしてそう思うの？この中では一番夢の扱いが下手なお嬢さん。
Among Us?
ここが私が一人でいたいと願った夢だからです。だけど先輩が来てくれましたから。だけどここはまだ壊れてないわ。つまりこの夢を保つためにマイヤ、あなた無理してるんじゃないの？
Yayoi, who had been watching silently, cut in.
ルーティは本当にひどいわ。どうしてそういうことをすぐに口にしてしまうの？
So the stream really is ending. I do hope, like, all of the girls, including Maya, become friends by the end of this. I hope at some point, like, I don't know. Because like I said, I've speculated that she's not, like, the endgame boss by any means. I don't think she's, like, meant to be the big grand villain that they kind of make her out to be sometimes. I have seen moments where I do genuinely feel like she's, like, trying to help everybody, including the rest of the girls, you know, besides her brother. And I feel like she's kind of just playing this mischievous girl that acts like she's causing problems, but is really just trying to build them up to be able to do bigger and better things. You know, she's trying to build up their resolve. So I do wonder if, like, at some point we'll kind of unite with her and, you know, face against whatever threat we have going on. Because clearly, like, something happened to her too. Like, she's a victim in all this. So I wouldn't really say she's the one that's, like, causing all of the problems. But we'll see. I'm really curious to know her backstory, along with Alice as well. Tohru was sensitive to dreams, so he could tell even though he just regained consciousness.
そうね。もうこの場所以外は全部崩れちゃったかしら。じゃあ、ハスノさんとアリスさんはいつも通りなら目を覚ましてるところだけど。
Maya said
それ
nothing.
で、ケイコ、この夢はどうだった？まだ続けたいかしら。
Keiko quietly shook her head.
一人は嫌です。
Tohru had been anticipating this, but those words still surprised him a little. Maya smiled without letting her feelings show, like always.
それに、目を覚ましても覚まさなくても、みんながいるなら、私は夢から覚めたいです。あなたの嫌いなお父さんはこっちにはいないわ。それでもこの夢は嫌？ええ、嫌です。私は人の手のひらの上で幸せになりたくない。
Because, like, I think the whole point of this is she's not asking her if she wants to stay in the stream because she wants her to. She wants her to say no. Like, hey, I just put you all through all this. It's like, yeah, you can live here without your father, but, you know, the real world has a lot more to offer you. You have good friends and stuff. Like, she's kind of shown her all this stuff that has kind of helped her realize how important it is. Like, how important it is to have everybody around. And now she's kind of built her up to this point, and she wants her to reject the dream.
そっか。夢を見てる本人がそう言うんじゃ仕方ないわよね。
Just then Maya's form faded a little. Maya, where are you going? Tohru had sensed that this was different from her usual way of
少し
disappearing.
無理しすぎちゃった。お兄ちゃんが無理やりこの夢に入ってきてからここまで持たせるの大変だったのよ。
Tohru knew what she had meant. Are you gonna disappear? Is this the end?
これでこの夢はおしまい。ほら、どんどん崩れてるのがわかるでしょ。
Tohru let go to Keiko and walked over to Maya. Keiko tried to stop him, but Yayoi grabbed Keiko's shoulder and shook her head.
多分これでお別れだから邪魔しちゃダメよ。
Keiko seemed unconvinced and she didn't want to go to... But she didn't try to go to Tohru's side. Gosh, I'm really excited for Saki's route too. for the fact that I think we're gonna get some more understanding and backstory of what happened between, like, you know, these three. Maybe we'll get to see a little bit more about what happened to Maya, and I'm hoping it'll show us more of the past, because I feel like we're gonna have a connection in that sense. So we're gonna get to really see like some of the past events that happened, maybe right after she disappeared and things like that. They've kind of briefly touched on it, but I want to like really like dive into it, especially like they did with Yayui's route. I think that was really nice. Going back and like showing the first time he met her and things like that. That was really cute. That was some of my favorite moments.
何あの時あの森でお兄ちゃんは私とお別れした気でいたんじゃなかったの？
I giggled like she always did, even though she was disappearing.
お兄ちゃんってば稽古に夢中で私のことなんてどんどん考えなくなってるんだもの。悔しいから邪魔してみたけどそれでも邪魔しきれなかったし、だからしょうがないから諦めてあげる。
Maya.
だけどいい？何かあったらすぐにこっちに引き戻してあげるから。だからお兄ちゃんは死ぬまでずっと怯えてなさい。私が来るかもって。
With an even more joyful laugh, Maya dissipated into the air. Yeah, I understand. Until I die. She meant that she didn't want him to die for a long
先
time.
輩。
Tohru turned around and took Keiko's hand. It's okay. It's okay. Seeing this, Yayoi shrugged and jumped off the ground from where the ground had collapsed in order to wake herself up. Tohru didn't want to cry in front of Keiko, but the tears had already come.
身内に妹相手に嫉妬したりなんてしませんよ。
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad you don't see my sister as a potential love interest, because that's not gonna happen, at least yet. Though it was just an act right now, that's all she could say. Tohru fell to his knees and Keiko held his head. In a collapsing dream, the two of them floated up into the light instead of falling into darkness. Okay. Wasn't too bad. Okay, I'm gonna skip it because it is gonna start showing CGs I don't want to show. I don't want to have to censor it. Once that was all over with, just as winter was nearing its end and it was gradually getting warmer, again I was accompanying Hirosaka to the front of the
最
station.
近だいぶ暖かくなりましたね。
Well, I'm grateful to have one less thing to worry about. Hirosaka was still wandering around at night. Plus, she had cared so little about herself, sometimes she got sick from walking around in the cold.
暖かくなると夜中でも外に出る人が増えますよ。
You enjoy making me worry.
先輩に心配されるのは嬉しいです。
Oh, is that how that works? She replied as she usually did, so I couldn't tell if she was being serious or not. I passed the guitar I'd been holding to Hirosaka.
ちょっと歌ってきます。
Yeah, do your best. Hirosaka nodded before heading to the spot she usually sang at. After the dream ended, we returned to reality. Though it had been a huge ordeal for us, in reality nothing had changed, and the days passed like they always did.
Nii-san, 大事な話があります。
Aki had come over for dinner and sat on her knees in front of me. Something? Is this going to be something I know about?
ええ、知ってることです。ただ、いつか自分でどうにかするかと思っていたんですが、そろそろ一言言っておくべきかと思って。
What is it? Seeing how serious she was, it
な
sat
ん
up
で最
straight.
近、毎日平坂さんが兄さんの夕飯を用意しているんですか？
I don't know, because we're in a relationship. We still haven't told her that we love her or anything. We still haven't confessed our feelings. Are they gonna do that right at the end? That's right, even as Saki and I sat facing each other here, Saki was making tonight's dinner in the kitchen right next to us. Well, we invite you to eat with us, don't we? Not only that, but Saki sometimes went shopping with Hirosaka or bought ingredients from the Hosono house.
それとこれとは別の話です。
Saki slapped her hand on the table. Yes, ma'am.
どうしてそんなことになってるのか、きちんと聞いてないんですけど。
先輩外食ばかりじゃないですか。 しかも夕飯に持ち帰りのお弁当ばかり食べてましたよね。
Sounds like something he would do. Hirosaka interjected in the conversation. She looked
ほ
over
っと
at
くのも
us.
気が引けるので、こうして自分の分と合わせて作りに来ているだけなんですけど。
Yeah, what she said.
なるほど。まあ私だって兄さんの健康は心配で口を酸っぱくして言ってきたことだから、そういった意味ではありがたいわけですけど。
Sounding more like a mother-in-law than a sister,
平
Saki
坂さんも
continued.
お家で一人でご飯食べたり外食するよりは確かにまあいいですけど。
Saki muttered, seemingly low to have admitted it.
それが最近一人じゃないんですよ。
Hirosaka sighed as though it was the biggest pain in the world. It felt like she had become more expressive as of late, but more
お
importantly,
手伝いさんでも入りましたか？
いいえ、父がよく家に帰ってくるように。
he sighed
そ
again.
の上、何を話すわけでもないのに、私と一緒に食事を取りたがったり。思春期の娘を持つ父親みたいで面倒です。
That's crazy. It's like he's the father of a teenage girl. It's almost like he is. Wasn't like he was the father of a teenage girl. Yes, thank you, Tohru. Wonder what's with the change of heart. Did something happen? Hirosaka said they hardly ever came home and seemed uninterested in doing so.
それっていつから？
ちょうどあの夢が終わって目を覚ました後あたりからです。何がしたいんでしょう、あの人は。
See? All part of the plan with Maya. She ended up changing him. And it hit me.
兄さん、何か気づいたみたいだけど。
This was almost certainly Maya's doing. Yes, they're realizing that Maya is actually, you know, good in a way. Knew exactly what each other was thinking. At the end, Maya had dropped Hirosaka's father into a nightmare. It must have been bad enough for him to change his attitude when he woke up. I mean, I've had that too, where I've had dreams that were so, like, vivid and real that it made me want to change something about myself. Like, that's a genuine thing. And I'm sure, like, maybe some of you have experienced something similar. Unlike me, normal people didn't remember their dreams clearly, and yet for him to change like this, what kind of dream did he
なの
have?
で父と二人きりでいるのが苦痛で、こうして先輩のところに避難してます。
And Saki couldn't only smile wryly at that. Saki could only offer any amount of sound arguments, but it looked like she didn't know what to say after seeing Hirosaka's father's attitude in that dream. Saki, that was a dream. I'm pretty sure he won't resort to such forceful measures in reality.
そうよね。うちの父さんじゃあるまいし。
I wonder if we're gonna meet her dad. That'd be crazy. Word of my gaze, that did sound like something Mr. Hasuna would have done if someone tried to make a move on
けれど
Saki.
最近付き合ってる男がいるのかなんて聞いてくるんですけど。
Saki prompted me in silence. You haven't told him?
きちんとはまだ言っていません。
Saki, what should I do?
私に言われても。
まあさすがに気づいてるとは思うんですが。
My sister and I looked at each other doubtfully.
まあその辺は兄さんが後で頑張るとして。
Wait, what? According to Hirosaka's dad, I'm a semi-invalid, you know? After that little fiasco, Saki and the others had gone back to having normal dreams again. I still had my lucid dreams, so my mornings weren't pleasant. The only difference was that Maya no longer appeared. In other words, things had gone back to the way they were.
頑張って。ここは夢じゃないから銃もないし、変な黒服の人にも捕まらないわ。
Yeah, that's what you think. In exchange, I also can't alter reality like I can in dreams. In other words, I was just the boyfriend of the daughter of the stubborn man I needed to
と
appease.
いうかまだ向こうに知られてないのにこの状況。
Saki held her head and sighed deeply, though I emphasized I wanted to pretend that
そ
I
こまで
didn't.
ハスノさんに心配される状況でもないと思いますけど。
The smell of dinner wafted in from the kitchen. Saki nearly gave into the smell and dropped the subject, but she took her head to chase away the
けど
temptation.
そうだって言うのに平坂さんここに泊まってること多いわよね。
She was right. Lately, there have been times when Hirosaka brought her uniform, stayed the night, and then we'd go to school together the next day. I was worried about what would happen if the school
遊
found
びじゃ
out.
ないんだし、何か問題ありますか？
School had rules that prohibited illicit sexual relations, rules that I took seriously.
二人ともまだ学生でしょ。遊びじゃないのなんて分かってますけど、責任だって取りきれないでしょ。
If we had been, then Saki would have taken the law into her own hands and I'd possibly be beyond recovery by now. Saki glared at me.
兄さん、まさかとは思うんだけど、否認はきちんとしてるんでしょうね。
I don't think they are. Not expecting those words to come out of Saki's mouth, I choked. Whoa, what?
分かってますか？ここは兄さんの得意な夢じゃないんです。 することすればその通りになるし、なかったことになんてできないんですか
I
ら
like
ね。
how we're finally thinking about this now. I know that, but I'm careful about using birth control. I had condoms on hand, I understood the need, but...
私がこっそり外すんですけどね。
What? You're talking about something outrageous.
平坂さん、
だってあんなものつけてたらその分だけ先輩を感じにくいじゃないですか。
Okay. This is true? I just can't believe I'm hearing it from a visual novel right now.
兄さん
I'm like, what is this conversation? Always careful, but sometimes she really does manage to do it. I guess I can still look unconcerned.
私たちの問題ですから。
この人は私の兄さんです。そういうのはせめて学校くらい卒業してからにしてください。
I agree, okay? There's other forms of birth control if you don't like condoms, but please use something. Don't be having a child while you're going to school. Like it got more and more mother-in-law like ever since it started going out Hirosaka. But Hirosaka was looking at Saki like she wanted to say
何
something.
かしら平坂さん、言いたいことがあるならどうぞ。
いえ、私は先輩のものですけど、先輩も私のものですよってきちんと言ってなかったと思って。
She turned and stared at me. She started silently slapping my knee.
平坂さん、それはどういう意味かしら？
Why are you looking at me? Hirosaka didn't seem concerned about that anymore
私
either.
を愛してくれれば、先輩が蓮野さんを愛そうが手を出そうが構わないと思ってた時期もあったってこと。
Gosh, that sounds like what Saki said before. Saki stopped slapping me and looked away bashfully. Her ears were bright red.
今はダメです。いくら蓮野さんでも先輩の妹以上の関係になるのは嫌です。
誰がそんなこと望みますか？何度も言ってるけど、私は兄さんの妹です。手を出すとかそんな、何言ってるんですか？
I think it's really rare to see Saki this blushing, you know? So I'm glad it's happening. Saki looked at Hirosaka vehemently, denied it. Her face was still red. Hirosaka crouched down and looked Saki in
そ
the
の
eye.
言葉、嘘じゃないですよね。
ないわよ。
Saki looked people in the eye when you talked to them. She averted her eyes from both me and Hirosaka. She was completely unconvincing. Hirosaka gave a
それじゃ、
resigned
そ
snort.
ろそろご飯できますから。用意、手伝
ちょっと本当に大丈夫だから。もう私だって兄さんのことを押し倒して既成事実作ってやろうとか思ってないから。
There's a key word here anymore, and it's at the very, very last word. Anymore. Saki looked away from me again. Saki, go home.
二人きりにしたら何するか。
止まっていく限りはすることしますよ。
Damn, okay.
だから。
Saki waved her hand, slapping my knee while she was at it. So, with the grumpy little sister and mother-in-law at our side, we passed the rest of the evening in a semi-normal manner. Damn, okay, we'll do what needs to be done. Like, okay. I like it. That night,
うん、
Kagura-san had eventually come to pick up the reluctant Saki, and now the two of us were alone, we sought after each other's lips. Though it was just supposed to be a kiss, we soon entwined our tongues.
先輩。
Hirosaka moved her face away from mine slightly and looked up at me embarrassed. The way she looked, her eyes longing for more, made my heart race. I wanted to feel her, I wanted her to feel me, so I gently...
分かってます。
They had to fit that last H scene in here somehow. It was awkward because my wife walked in and I was like, yeah, they're having a scene. She knows. Anyways, on days off, Hirosaka often sang outside starting in the afternoon. At this moment, she was just coming to the end of a song. There weren't many people around, but there were more than usual listening today. They often made sure to leave their offerings before walking away. Sometimes they stayed to chat with her a little. While Hirosaka wasn't particularly friendly, she wasn't overly hostile either. Nice job.
どうも。
I gave Hirosaka a canned drink that I had bought. It was a new product for spring, strawberry milk tea. Honestly, it was too sweet for me, but Hirosaka didn't complain. In fact, she seemed rather pleased with it. Lately, more people have been listening to you.
暖かくなって外に出るようになったんじゃないですかね。
It wasn't just that, I thought. Hirosaka's singing had changed. I always thought her singing was pretty, but now there was something more to it. It seemed like she wanted people to listen rather than just hear her in passing. She seemed to be having more fun and even seemed to enjoy having people listen.
そうですね。
Hirosaka stared at me.
ただ歌いたかっただけなんですけど、今はそれだけじゃなくて、歌にもメッセージがあるんだなと思うようになって、だから歌いたい歌が減りました。 困ったものです。
You're becoming more aware of what you're
そうです
singing.
ね。いい歌だとしても、私が人前で歌うには違うかなって歌もやっぱりありますし、歌で伝えたい、それってこういうことかもしれないって思うようになりました。
I see.
なんか随分そっけないですね。
Oh, I'm not that knowledgeable about music, and waiting for my reply, Hirosaka tilted her head. I get the impression you started singing more songs about couples. It wasn't just sweet, happy songs, there's also a lot of anxious songs, songs about heartbreak, but they're all songs about relationships.
私幸せですから。
I can tell she's a little bit of a different person, because now she's openly drinking a really sweet drink. Hirosaka said without even the slightest hint of embarrassment. In fact, she seemed downright
それに
confident.
今自信のある感情ってそれしかないんです。まだ不安がたくさんあります。伝えたいことや伝えた方がいいことはたくさんあるはずなんです。だから今一番強い思いしか歌えないんです。
I see.
ええ、だからやっぱり歌います。いつかあの人にもきちんと自分の言葉で、夢じゃないところで伝えられるように。
By that person, you mean...
いつか夢じゃなくて相手に分かるようにはっきり言ってやるんです。不自由なく育ててくれてありがとう。けどあなたのことは大嫌いだって。
Relationship between Hirosaka and her father had been changing little by little ever since that dream. Maybe by the time Hirosaka has worked up the courage to say it to his face, her words will have changed. I realized that Hirosaka was staring at me. She looked unhappy.
そういえば先輩、私ベッドの上でしか返事もらったことないんですけど。
Surprised that she had mentioned this nonchalantly in public, I dropped the canned juice I'd been trying to open. Hirosaka picked it up and tapped it against her own shoulder as if to say she wasn't handing it over until I gave her a
セック
reply.
スの最中はそれ目的に感じるから、そういうことは言いたくないんじゃないでしたっけ？
Even though there was no longer anyone listening to Hirosaka sing and no one around seemed to be paying attention to us, for her to bring it up like this was still... After waking up from the dream, I had given Hirosaka an answer. That was later, after we had our first night together in reality, so I couldn't blame her for feeling this way.
確かに返事はもらうはもらいましたし、あの時嬉しくて泣いた身としては何も言えないんですけど。
Well,
そうだ
Hirosaka...
先輩、そろそろギター後ろで弾いてもらえませんか？一曲くらいならもうできますよ。
Hirosaka tried to pick up the guitar at her feet, but I caught her. You don't have to try to change the subject just because you're embarrassed.
別に照れてなんか。
But she was obviously not satisfied with the fact that I haven't told her properly. Maybe she just wanted me to say it so she could assure herself. Either way, I love you, Keiko.
ハスノさんやもう一人の妹さんよりもですか？
Hey now. Hey yo, my guy, what do you mean? I tried to object to the characterization, so she slipped out my arm, picked up her guitar, and tossed it to me. Oh, be careful with that. As I caught the guitar, I noticed that Hirosaka had a brilliant smile on her
冗談で
face.
す。私も愛してますよ、トール先輩。
Her expression made it hard for me to get back at her with that jab. I can still only play one song
じゃ
well.
あこれから増やしていきましょう。まだたくさん伝えたいことは増えていくはずですから。
She was right, there probably would be more. More things Hirosaka wanted to say and more things I wanted to say. Reality wasn't as convenient as a dream, and I was sure we would meet and part ways with a lot of people as time went on. I just hoped that we'd be able to remain together through all of it. I'll give it a try. I gently tapped the body of the guitar. There we go. That's the end, right? Seems like it. Alright, we're gonna go into settings, because settings is the only place I can pretty much safely go without there being some kind of thing I can't show on there. And then it doesn't pop up with the other videos. Okay, time to give my thoughts on Keiko's route. So that was the end. It ended up taking me 2 hours to do this video, but it's been a few days since I uploaded, so I think this makes up for it, right? Right? Anyways, I'm just gonna start off with the thought that I immediately had towards the end. And like, Keiko's route was not nearly as good as Yayui's. I think Yayui's was just so good that it was hard to compare anything to it. went wrong is I feel like it focused for too long on things that maybe didn't matter. Like, it was just kind of this whole thing about her being lonely and then having to face her father and things like that. Those are things I thought it was going to tackle, but I feel like it took a really long time to focus on those and didn't really pay off for me as much as I wanted it to. It felt kind of just like, okay, like it was an okay route. Like, not good, not great. It was just okay. I would have liked them to have a lot more moments between them, and not necessarily so much serious moments. I would have liked a lot more like fun moments where like she really realized like, okay, hey, I love him, and you know, I'm having a good time together. I would have liked more moments like that. I feel like Hirosaka's always been kind of this kind of sad loner type person, and you know, I liked those moments with her, especially at the start, but it became like her only moments at times, and like we slowly got a little bit more like moments where they actually like love each other and things like that. You know, I enjoyed those. There was a few good moments though. I really liked the moment where she pointed the gun at her father. Like, that was pretty badass. Let's see, what other moments did I really like? Most of the moments here at the end, and that kind of was the same with Yayui's. Like, don't get me wrong, Yayui's best moments were probably... Sorry, I'm listening to that guitar. Like, it just came in. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. I would have liked to see more of Keiko's guitar too. I mean, they definitely had some more musical moments in there, but I would have liked to see maybe a few more. I don't know, maybe her like putting out a performance or something. That would have been cool. I think Keiko's route was okay though. I'm gonna say that. I like Keiko's character. I just didn't really think her route did her justice. I think they could have made it a little bit more epic. I don't think they wanted to. I don't think it was in the budget. So Yayui's was really good. I'm looking forward to Saki's though, because I think Saki's is going to have a lot story-wise, and it's going to be a good segue into Maya and Alice's. So I'm looking forward to that. But it very much felt like an in-between route, which it was. I hope you guys aren't like too offended by my opinions on that. Like, I'm just going to tell you guys how I feel. Like, if I felt like her route needed more, I needed more. But if you guys felt like it was great, then it was good. Like I said, there was quite a few good moments in it. I just felt like it dragged at times. There could have been more in between those. So we're going to leave it at that. We're going to be jumping into Saki's route next. I know you guys are excited for me to play more Hapymaher, so I'm going to be doing that. And I'm looking forward to it. I think we're finally getting into this kind of home stretch here, where we're going to do Saki and then Maya and Alice, and hopefully we'll see how that goes. Because I really I'm dying to know more about the story, and it feels like it takes forever to get there. But I'm glad we've been able to get through 2 so far, and they've been really good. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and end it here. I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a good one.